I'm using a different mic.
Just fine.
Got it. Thank you very much, Ethan. So, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us. This is the Working with the Little Hoover Commission webinar on Friday, January 30th, starting at around 12 o'clock. This is Pedro Nava. I serve as the chair of the Little Hoover Commission. I've had the privilege of serving as a chair since 2014. So, before joining the commission, I was in the assembly, where I saw firsthand how challenging it can be to obtain clear, independent analysis of complex policy issues, especially those that cut across agencies and programs. The Little Hoover Commission is one path to a particular kind of analysis. We're an independent state oversight agency created to make recommendations to the governor and the legislature on how to improve state government. We conduct in depth, nonpartisan studies on major challenges confronting the state. Our work is designed to be practical, focused on what is working, what is not, and what can be improved. The Commission has a careful process as it chooses its subjects, and we do consider suggestions from the legislative offices, stakeholder groups, or members of the public. Many Commission reports include recommendations that are well suited for bill introduction, oversight hearings, and further policy development. We currently have several recent reports with actionable recommendations that could be readily translated into legislation. This webinar is designed to highlight those opportunities and show how legislative offices can work with the Commission to advance policy solutions. Today, our team will walk through several recent Commission studies and key recommendations. If any of these topics spark ideas for future studies, we hope today's discussion makes clear the door to the Commission is always open. Now, I won't be able to stay with you for the complete presentation, and I apologize for that. I've got another meeting that I'm going to have to attend in a bit, but I am very grateful for those of you that have chosen to participate with us. We will begin with a report that we issued in October on a topic of significant interest in the state of California, the high cost of electricity. I will now turn things over to Daniel Harris McCoy, who looks to be wearing some new glasses. Very flattering there, Daniel.
Thank you very much,
He's going
Mr.
to,
Chairman.
you're welcome. Who will present the findings and the recommendations on that report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you again. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Harris McCoy, and I was the project manager for the High Cost of Electricity in California report. A bit of background. This report was initiated at the request of Senator Stephen Bradford and conducted alongside Governor Gavin Newsom's October 2024 executive order directing agencies and regulators to identify solutions to rising electricity rates. As I've already said, the core question of this guiding this study is how can California slow rising electricity costs, but do it without undermining its own climate goals, wildfire safety, or equity initiatives? So this is a badly needed study. California electricity rates are among the highest in the nation. In fact, residential and commercial rates are about double the U.S. average. 1 in 5 households is behind on their electricity bill, and according to recent surveys, affordability is now the top policy concern for state residents. So based on our hearings and our research, we found that high electricity rates in California are driven by wildfire mitigation and insurance costs, rate design that concentrates fixed costs in per kilowatt hour charges, utility profits tied to capital spending, and flat consumption that spreads costs across fewer customers. So let me go over briefly our recommendations. The first one has to do with rate design reform. We believe that the state should revisit and in fact increase the income graduated fixed charge in order to lower per kilowatt hour rates. So what this is a flat charge. It began appearing on investor-owned utility customer bills in late 2025. And for PG&E customers, it's coming out in early 2026. This was an initiative meant to pay for, things like low-income subsidies, certain kinds of wildfire spending, and other fixed costs. We believe that this was set too low. that it should be raised, and per kilowatt hour charges should be lowered in response. And the goal of all of this is to reduce bill volatility, ease burdens for customers, often low income, in hot climate zone parts of the state, and to spread fixed costs more equitably across customers. We also believe that the legislature should consider shifting appropriate costs off of customer bills, but that they should do so carefully. So we believe that there should be a formal criteria-based feasibility study to identify which kinds of electricity costs could move to things like the general fund or the greenhouse gas reduction fund. This doesn't mean that we're, asking for a mandate to shift costs, simply that further study is warranted. We also believe that the state should work to fix the general rate case, right? This is when the CPUC determines basically the budget for the state's different investor-owned utilities. This process takes too long, it's too complicated, and should be limited by statute in order to avoid things like sort of unpredictable costs after the fact and other problems with a longer general rate case. And finally, the one that I want to flag is independent oversight of utility profits. Normally, well, let's put it this way. The state determines what amount of profit utilities can earn on their capital expenses and also the rate of borrowing that they're allowed to borrow at. And utilities get first dibs at this, right? So that they bring consultants in who propose certain rates of return. We believe that the state should initiate this instead, and in particular, the state treasurer's office. We believe that this will provide independent analysis that will be beneficial to ratepayers and be more aligned with actual market forces. Beyond this, there are certain thematic buckets to our recommendations. Better regulatory accountability. So that would mean integrating different kinds of proceedings relating to wildfire, cost of capital, other major cost proceedings. We also believe that the state auditor should evaluate CPUC staffing capacity. Under the equity and affordability bucket, we believe that California climate credits should be redirected towards low-income households in hot climate zones, and in particular during summer months. We believe that there should be a rethink of low and middle income household subsidies that are above the care income threshold. And we believe that the state needs to readdress rooftop solar, and in particular the net energy metering program, in a way that addresses the major cost shift that comes from that program, but also respects the investment that homeowners had made in installing home solar at their houses. So anyway, this is an overview of our recommendations for this study. We stand by it and we stand ready to assist as you're beginning to think about possible legislation along these lines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Chairman, you are muted, Mr. Chairman, but I will jump in if you'd like.
No, I was just going to ask you to jump in. You have my mic.
This is Ethan Rarick. I'm the executive director of the commission. I should mention that if you have questions as we go about the commission's role, about what we do after reports are released, about any of the studies and so forth, you can type those into the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We'll take questions later. There is a public comment session at the end of the meeting, but we would prefer, if you want to respond to your questions, if you can type them in, please, now or as we go along. And with that, I'll ask Crystal Beckham, who is the project manager on our recent report on public philanthropic partnerships, to address that report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Crystal Beckham, and I am a project manager with the Commission. Since 2019, California has engaged in more than 100 philanthropic partnerships across with nearly 30 state agencies working with more than 250 philanthropic partners. During this time, the state has invested nearly $14 billion, alongside with more than $4 billion invested by philanthropy, to support efforts ranging from disaster relief to workforce development and healthcare access. Last year, the Commission decided to look at how the state works with these philanthropic partners. These are philanthropies that are devoting their own resources to support programs and goals that also are supported by the state. Our report, called Strengthening Public Philanthropic Partnerships, is the result of that study. And in it, we make recommendations that we believe would strengthen these partnerships and make them more sustainable and effective. So we found that several factors make these partnerships a success. Witnesses across philanthropy, state government, and academia consistently emphasize that the most important foundation for successful partnerships is trust. And transparent communication and regular feedback build trust and allows partners to adapt when challenges arise. We also found that shared values and aligned goals are critical to successful partnerships. When partners agree on outcomes and how to get there, it's no surprise that projects move faster and deliver stronger results. Additionally, we found that California has made a notable investment in leadership and infrastructure to support these partnerships. The governor's decision to designate a senior advisor responsible for public philanthropic partnerships within the office of the governor sends a strong signal that this work matters to high-level policymakers. The state also has embedded partnership liaisons within 10 major agencies, which has helped institutionalize collaboration. We found that philanthropy brings something to the table that government often cannot, and those are flexible, risk-tolerant resources. These funds allow the state to pilot ideas, test innovations, and learn before committing long-term public dollars. Ultimately, philanthropic investment can help prove concepts that later justify permanent state funding. However, there are limitations to public philanthropic partnerships. They cannot be a cure-all for the state's funding woes. They cannot replace government's core responsibilities, fix flawed policies, or permanently fill funding gaps. And we found that sometimes the right solution is policy reform, not more resources. Moreover, philanthropy resents being treated as an ATM. They want to create their own projects with the state that align with their goals, and they want to have ownership over those projects. They don't want the state to create projects and turn around and ask them for a check. So we found that partnerships work best when they test ideas, build capacity, and are used to inform decision making. Our report outlines 4 recommendations that we believe would strengthen these partnerships. The first is to institutionalize leadership. The senior advisor position that Governor Newsom created should be made permanent to ensure continuity across future administrations. We also asked the state to expand partnership capacity across government in 2 different ways. The 10 partnership liaisons that the state has already created within state agencies are high-ranking positions with authority. We ask that the state add positions of similar rank and authority to other state agencies to further this type of collaboration. We also asked the state to create a centralized point of contact for philanthropy within the state legislature. We heard from philanthropies that they don't know who to approach in the legislature when they have questions or if they're interested in collaborating with the state. Finally, we ask that the state improve monitoring and evaluation of these public philanthropic projects. The state publishes an annual impact report and holds an annual philanthropy summit, but it lacks a systemic statewide way to measure the cumulative impact of these partnerships. Better data would support transparency, equity, and evidence-based decision-making. Overall, California has positioned itself as a national leader in public philanthropic partnerships, and we have a lot to be proud of. But we believe with stronger institutional supports and better data, these partnerships can become more sustainable and effective. And done well, they offer a way to extend public impact and create innovations that can work at scale for the benefit of all Californians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crystal. We have 2 more reports we want to address briefly. And again, if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We're going to now go back to Dan, who is going to talk about 2 reports we issued late in 2024 on AI and state government, the use of artificial intelligence in state government. And then we're going to finish with Tamar Foster talking about our report on homeowners insurance. Dan.
Great. Well, hello again. I was also the project manager for the report on artificial intelligence and California state government. The report built directly on Governor Newsom's 2023 executive order on generative AI, which ordered agencies to begin integrating Gen AI into their operations while also managing risk. The legislature is already very active on AI policy. This particular report focuses on how state government itself should adopt AI responsibly and effectively. So it's not about regulating Silicon Valley, it's about modernizing state government operations. Um, so I'll look at headline recommendations and then I'll go through some sort of buckets like I did in my previous presentation. First recommendation, build a state-owned AI computing center, tentatively called CalCompute. Uh, this is actually already happening in a sort of provisional sense with the passage of SB 53. This is Senator Wiener's bill. The idea behind it is to provide secure, affordable computing power and AI tools for things like state agencies, California universities, nonprofits, and startups. We think that this would be valuable to California's innovation economy, and we believe this kind of computing center can help with that. Second, we recommended the creation of a California AI Council. This is again already happening to a certain degree with the recently announced California Innovation Council. This would be a cross-sector body that would oversee AI implementation in state government, guide development of the computing center, and also coordinate training, procurement, and risk management across state agencies. Third, we believe that AI should be put in the hands of rank and file state workers, providing all state employees with access to secure general purpose generative AI tools, require baseline AI training, and support peer-to-peer innovation that emphasizes bottom-up innovation, not consultant-driven projects. And again, we were happy to see a version of this with the pilot rollout of something called Poppy AI. Maybe folks have seen this in the news. It's a sort of agglomeration of a number of different generative AI tools for certain select California state agencies. We believe there should be expanded legislative oversight, and in particular, we advocate for the establishment of a select committee on California public sector AI in the state legislature. And we believe that this would ensure ongoing legislative engagement as the technology evolves. Now, in terms of the buckets, we believe that there should be a greater focus on implementation and capacity. So we believe that the state should develop clear, standardized AI use policies so that state agencies can begin to adopt this technology without fear or confusion and support interagency collaboration and shared pilots. We also believe that focus should be made on procurement and risk management. And this has to do with a general challenge around IT procurement. And I'm happy to say that the Little Hoover Commission will begin looking into that broader topic in an upcoming study. But what I mean by that is we believe that the state should continue to streamline Gen AI procurement while preserving safety. It should improve vendor disclosures and verification, and it should be able to reduce redundant review across agencies. And finally, we believe that the state should focus on workforce trust and the public, strengthen worker voices through forums and an AI ombudsperson. It should engage in public education about how AI is used in state government, and it should ensure that AI adoption remains human-centered and transparent. I also want to add that as part of this study, we actually conducted a second, smaller study looking at artificial intelligence and food insecurity. Basically, what we wanted to look at was how AI could serve vulnerable populations through the state's social services. And we found that AI has tremendous potential in terms of time reduction for staff, streamlining services applications, data integration, offering multilingual services, among lots of other potential benefits. Some counties are already working in this direction, but we would love to see the state to take an even stronger leadership role in this space. So again, that's an overview of our study, and I'm happy to answer questions. And obviously, the Commission stands ready to support the legislature as it begins to carry them out. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And we will end with Tamar Foster talking about a study we did in late 2024, a report we did in late 2024 on homeowners insurance. Tamar.
All right, I put together some slides for everybody just to give you something to look at. I'll wait for those to come up. Um, if you could go to the next slide. So just going back a couple years, we began this study when the news was really filled with stories about home insurance. Insurers were leaving the state, homeowners were getting dropped from their policies, um, people were having trouble finding coverage that they could afford, and the FAIR plan was just growing rapidly. Lots of these changes were in response to years of massive wildfires that burned neighborhoods and communities across our state. So our report ultimately includes 11 recommendations. In the year since we released it, there has been some progress, but today I'll just focus more on what else we could do. Um, so regulations that were introduced at the end of 2024 implemented parts of several of our recommendations. But I'll mention today two where our recommendations went a little bit further than what was done. The first one was we did also recommend that insurers use catastrophic models and rate calculations, and this was included in the regulations. But we had two additional suggestions which were not. That is that the models should account for mitigation, that is the work homeowners, communities, and the state do to protect against fire. And it's not clear how the current regulations would account for this. We also recommended that insurers should be required to consider mitigation in their underwriting models that insurers use to calculate their risk. This could have an effect on premiums homeowners pay. The other recommendation, we called for stronger public oversight of the catastrophic models. We wanted to see independent experts who could evaluate how insurers assess risk and see if it's fair and reasonable. The new regulations did include some oversight, but it's primarily through confidential reviews by the Department of Insurance with a public process at the end of it. So we wanted to see a little bit more of a stronger oversight role there. Some other recommendations, we found that homeowners still lack a lot of relevant information. First, there's a lot of different advice about what's needed to protect homes against fires and maintain insurability, but following that advice doesn't always guarantee that someone will get insurance coverage. So we recommended that the information given to homeowners from state regulators, the insurance industry, fire protection agencies, and more should be aligned all around standards. We also recommended that the state define a minimum set of core evidence-based mitigations for California homeowners and another set of core mitigations for communities. And finally, here we recommended that the state establish statutory protections against homeowners association rules or other local ordinances that might prevent homeowners from hardening their homes. So another thing that we learned in this study was how expensive it can be to protect a home against fire. Many homeowners don't have the financial or physical capacity to take on this work. And so last year we supported a bill to establish grants for homeowners to harden their homes. But in our report, we recommended a number of things the state could do to offer more help. Things like partnering with insurers to offer discounts or tax incentives, and expanding the wildfire mitigation program beyond pilot communities. So we called for a number of recommendations to help improve access to information about the home insurance market. We found that the Department of Insurance's website was exceedingly difficult to navigate. It had market data that was almost felt like it was hidden or locked away in PDFs, maybe not available for every year, and it was just really difficult to find. So we recommended a modernized website that makes it easy to find and download current data on things like the amount of premiums that insurers write each year, the number of rate filings that are made by insurers each year, and how long it takes them to get approved by the department. We also found that many people go to the FAIR plan without considering options. Many don't know that there's a surplus market where they could get coverage. So we suggested that the department provide more information to insurance brokers and agents on how to contact the state licensed surplus brokers on behalf of their clients. Finally, there is no centralized database for property conditions and risk information like we have for vehicle registration or airline maintenance. Instead, property data is held by individual insurers, making it inaccessible to all those who could benefit from it. And we found that there are a lot of parties who could potentially benefit. So we recommended that the state build a data commons to allow all stakeholders access to the same property condition and risk information. And that's it for this report, and happy to follow up with anybody on additional questions.
Thank you very much, Tamar. So if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A function. Let me answer one question which we always get, which is the role of the commission after these reports are issued. And here I'm particularly aware that we may have some legislative staff on the webinar. The commission supports actions that implement its recommendations. In particular, we support legislation that implements its recommendations. So if the commission's recommendations are going to be implemented by a bill, we take a formal support position. We'll send a letter. We'll offer technical assistance to the author's office or to Ledge Counsel as they're drafting. And ultimately, we're happy to testify if a bill is up for a hearing. So we are active supporters of legislation or administrative actions that implement our recommendations, and happy to work with administrative offices or legislative offices if they're working on implementation issues. If you want to reach out to us about any of these reports or any implementation steps, our emails are all on the Commission's website, which is lhc.ca.gov. So please feel free to reach out to any of the staff on this call, and we're happy to answer any questions or provide copies of these reports or talk more to you about the reports. With that, I think we have no other questions. For maximum transparency, we do schedule a public comment period, and so we will move into that portion of the agenda, if I may, Mr. Chairman. And
Yes, please.
so we'll go to public comment. If you wish to make public comment, please use the raised hand function in Zoom. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Total public comment is limited to 30 minutes. So 3 minutes per speaker. If you wish to make public comment, use the raised hand function. We have no one in the physical location, and I see no raised hands. So again, for legislative staff or others who are on the call, please feel free to follow up with us. Reach out to us through our emails that are on our website. Happy to talk to you about all of these reports or any others. And we will continue to work with offices that sponsor legislation that implement our recommendations. Mr. Chairman, I think we've concluded. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. If I might, just at the end, for those of you that are still watching, one of the important distinctions about Little Hoover Commission reports is that they are, as I said in my opening comments, they're nonpartisan, bipartisan, no partisan, whatever. And our commission has folks who are declined to state, Republicans and Democrats. The balance is always maintained. We're required by statute to do so. And I think what you will find when you look at our reports and our recommendations, they are not subject to criticism or attack because they support either a Democratic Party position or a Republican Party position. They support solid policy analysis and implementation. And so one of the benefits of looking at recommendations from our reports is it is exactly that. You will not be criticized for embracing a partisan position on a particular policy issue. And I think that's been very helpful as it relates to legislation that's been from our recommendations that moves forward. I think so much so last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think 8 of our recommendations were translated into legislation that was signed by the governor and has now become law. So I just think that's one of the aspects of the work that we do that can be helpful to legislative staff as you are talking to your members about looking at recommendations to then try to turn those into legislation. And again, thank you for participating.
Thank you.
So I guess we're all done, right, Ethan?
We are correct. Thank you very much, Mr.